Back on MorningLine, thanks for joining us on this Monday. Professor Marc Schwerdt with us from Lipscomb University. We're talking, as you see on the screen, national and international politics, specifically some of the stuff in Syria. We'll get into North Korea. Nice to have you on, sir, as always.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. We've got some more calls. Let's go. Wait through the break. We'll go to Grady. Grady, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Hi,
and
Grady.
Professor Schwartz.
Nice to meet you.
I got to tell you now, 59 cruise missiles at 500,000 apiece. No wonder you had the Secretary of Commerce down there. You know, I mean,
That's right.
I ain't got a calculator, but that's a whole heck of a lot of money. You know, to send over there and bomb an airport that, you know, we still got the runway. If they got one airplane left, if they got one tube of Syrian gas left, they can still gas them people. So what have we done? You know, we got North Korea over there with a saber rattler. You know, if there's ever a leader that needs to be taken out, it's Kim Jong or whatever his name is. You know, the young fella. And I'll hang up and listen to y'all's comments this morning.
That's fine. I didn't know how much a cruise missile costs, but that's an expensive message.
Well,
yeah.
you know, my estimate I had actually seen was $1.4 million each.
How can they be that expensive?
Because they're very, very precise and advanced
electronics
kind of
that are in
technology.
there. I mean, that's a 50 of them. So you're talking that was a $50 million airstrike, you know, not to mention the planes and everything else, which, okay, I think you would probably say, I mean, clearly they were sending a message and, you know, they're there to be used at some point. How effective it'll be, we'll see. I mean, it's true. If Grady's right. If all of a sudden, Assad, we get another chemical weapon next week,
yeah, it shows they did nothing.
But,
if you don't send the message, you don't know what the response is going to be.
Right.
He gets a message from whether or not we do something or not.
It was that expensive, though.
Yeah.
I knew it was expensive, but not that much.
Yeah, and you know, of course, Kim Jong-un in North Korea is extremely dangerous himself, but that's also a much more high-cost situation. It's much more delicate.
Because of China?
Yeah. Well, because of China, but also because of Kim Jong-un themselves. I mean, they've got nuclear weapons.
Oh, yeah.
They've got they're moving towards, you know, ICBM type technology. And they're right next to the Republic of Korea. They're right next to China. Japan's not that far away. And you're talking about tens of millions of people who are potentially at risk of being affected in some way. You know, Seoul, South Korea, a city of 10 million people or more, is, you know, 30 miles from that border. And they've been arming that border for 75 years now.
Right.
Or 65 years. I mean, that's still a state of war. That was never a peace treaty. It was a truce. And so you can't send a message to Kim Jong-un like that. But you can send a message to the Chinese, and I don't think that was the primary reason why Trump did this, but you can send a message to the Chinese, whose premier was here in the U.S. meeting with Trump as he made that decision. Okay, and so he says, okay, well, have we gotten to a point in North Korea where they've finally gone over the edge? Because the Chinese are really the only ones who have enough sway within North Korea to really make some sort of influence. And they kind of turn that influence on and off according to their own whims and interests.
Yeah.
So I think basically what Trump is saying to them, hey, listen, we're calling you out. You have to take a stand on this because this is getting to a point, because we're seeing them, again, launch an ICBM that might could hit American territory with an, you know, warhead of some sort. And really, North Korea's kind of crossing some lines. Again, lines are very difficult to sort of draw, but we're sort of saying this is getting to a point where it's escalating things way beyond our patience.
Yeah, time for something to be done. Let's take a call from Taylor. Taylor, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Hi,
Good
Taylor.
morning to the professor.
Good morning.
Trouble spots everywhere, but the one that concerns me most was what you were just discussing, and that's North Korea. Korea would already be a unified country had it not been for the Chinese just at the end of the Korean War flooding that country and those American and South Korean forces with I understand they had so many soldiers flooding in there that the guys couldn't mow them down fast enough with their machine guns, and so that brought about the truce. And so the only question there is China, because if the United States were to take a sole action against the leader there, it would upset China to no end. And China has enough influence and people within that country that if they wanted to, they could either assassinate, plant a bomb or something to take him out, and it's going to take a lot more countries than just the United States to push China to do that. China would want to form whatever government takes his place, but the only answer there is China, and again, I think it's going to take a lot from the United States, but it's going to take a lot from several other countries to get them to make that move. Because if this guy were to be on his deathbed or something, he would not mind one bit launching whatever the strongest missiles he does have into Japan, South Korea, the United States even, if he had one that he thought could do it. So that's my point on that. Thanks for the program.
Yeah, you just worry about someone who's just flat out crazy, and we don't know with how he is. But what is it? What is China's big interest? Again, as I asked you before about Russia's and Syria, what does China get from North Korea except maybe a balancing act with South Korea, which is more of an American ally? What is that? It basically?
Basically, yeah. I mean, they're a wild card.
But they're not getting any resources that they desperately need from North Korea or anything like that.
If anything, North Korea is excessively dependent on China,
right?
For energy and things like that. I mean, North Korea is essentially a non-functioning society and economy without China.
So it's just a strategic thing for China.
It is very much a strategic thing for China, but it's also a matter of, can they give that up? Because again, it's so attached to them that it's, if anything happens there that goes against a Chinese interest, that's not under Chinese control, it's automatically seen as a loss.
So what would the options be? I mean, I think to get China on board, you have to make it somehow in their interest. They're losing something strategic. And maybe what Taylor was saying, there's a regime change in North Korea, but maybe the U.S. agrees that, okay, we at least get rid of this guy who may just be flat crazy, and China, you put what you want in there. I don't know. I mean, is that what it would take? And would we be willing to accept that?
The thing about North Korea is a regime based upon a dynasty. So it's very bound up in the Kims. This is the grandson, and so I mean it's a very personal dictatorship. So how do you replace that regime without someone who's from that dynasty? Because it's not just about communism. It's not just about being a totalitarian dictatorship. It's about something where the people are so loyal and see so much in him that if you get rid of him, and again, I don't know if that's all faked or anything like that. My guess is it is. It is not faked.
They've just been brainwashed.
And so, they killed the other brother down in Malaysia a few weeks ago.
The assassins.
I mean, that's one way of saying, hey, listen, you've got to deal with me.
But what worries
that's one way he solidifies his own hold on things. And the thing is, how do you reform North Korea? How do you move it from this isolated hermit kingdom, as it's often called, to something that is going to be stable and be able to, reform itself and integrate itself with the world community, when you've got 25 million people who are essentially paranoid about influence from somewhere else? Because the Chinese aren't good at managing that kind of thing. We're not good at managing that kind of thing. And so the idea would be, does that suddenly fall apart? I mean, the collapse of that, the spillover into South Korea, the spillover into China, is something that everybody fears. That's the ultimate real sort of hold that the Kims have had, is the humanitarian sort of overflow from that, the catastrophe that would result.
25 million people in North Korea?
Something like that, yeah.
But the thing I've heard is that there is more civil unrest, though it's quiet, because in this social media age, there's stuff that Kim Jong cannot keep from getting into his country by whatever form of. So I just always thought that North Korea was kind of.
But they're not connected to the internet.
Okay, maybe not, but I mean, there's more stuff getting in there somehow. It's what you've heard.
It's smuggling.
And so they're all of a sudden discovering, you know, they think the rest of the world is like them, living in this abject poverty, and they're seeing grocery stores elsewhere on this, and like, whoa, this is how the other half lives. What the heck are we doing here? Well, I don't know if that's happening or not, but at some point, more messages have got to be getting in there.
More things have got to be getting in there, and you know, they've been sort of eating away at the foundation, you know, by again. And Korea's been very much on the forefront of that because they want to reunify the country at some point, but they want to make it a smooth transition. Does it have something like, you know, 1991 USSR, where all of a sudden this superpower we had feared for 45 years collapses overnight, and we're just sort of looking around saying, how did that happen? Because it sort of rotted from the inside. There's a lot of rot within North Korea. But there's also just enough fanaticism, there's just enough loyalty to that Kim regime that people fear what could be the fallout from it.
I see. You got to understand how they think. It's a lot more complicated.
The thing is, we don't really
realize.
know a lot of what they think.
Right.
That's, you know, you're kind of looking at a black box and trying to throw
I have to say, if Cuba was one,
stuff.
I'd still love to go to Cuba now, and of course that's becoming more open. I would love to go to North Korea, not for a vacation hotspot, but I just think it would be fascinating because I think it would be like stepping back in time to some measure, but just to see how these poor people are living. If I could, I mean, and I know people that have been over there, journalists, they're kept under a very tight watch.
There have been some students who have been able to go there.
Yeah, but you know, if I could do it, again, you worry on a whim. They could say, "No, you're not leaving."
Well, you don't know what you can do wrong.
That's right. They didn't like what you were looking over here. You wander the wrong way, they grab you. But I would love to go to North Korea just to see what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, there's that kid who was who was from a college. Yeah, he went in there. He tried to steal a little banner for his teacher or something like that. 15 years hard labor.
Oh, all right. We'll take a break on that. That's a great example. Take a break on that note. We'll be back with more of your calls. Gary and Joe will get to you right after this.